Welcome to the Babaji Festival today and to the Temple of Kriya Yoga. Today I'm going to be talking about why astrology is important to Kriya Yoga. And I'm talking about the planetary meetups. These we call conjunctions in astrology. And there's three important ones this year. And basically because Kriya Yoga is about wise action, I'm going to be talking about what's the wisest use and the best ways to balance the energy contained in these conjunctions. Goswami Kriyananda was the spiritual preceptor of the Temple of Kriya Yoga. He was a light bearer, a light on the path of Kriya Yoga. He was also a mystic and a master of astrology. He combined Western astrology with Eastern philosophy. And so Kriya Yoga uses astrology in a number of ways. And I'll talk about a few of them. The first is to better understand ourselves through the study of the natal horoscope. That's your horoscope that's based on your individual birth date, birth time, and birth location. This natal horoscope is a map of our karma of this lifetime. With this understanding, we can see into ourselves more deeply in order to grow personally and spiritually. And another way that we use it is to be able to see into the future, our own future and the future of the world, in order to prepare to soften our own karma through wise decision-making and the application of techniques like meditation, reflection, and attunement to the divine. Those techniques and the techniques that we know through all of our studies make us more balanced and give us some detachment from the swirl of emotions that go on around us. In Kriya Yoga, we also learn that one of the most important mantras is Aham Brahmasmi, meaning that we as individuals, as humans, embody the creative principle of the divine, the creative power of the divine. It means we have the power, if we use it, to make our life better, happier, and more harmonious. I was talking to a young woman the other day about using astrological knowledge to improve our lives. And she said, what if we're avoiding a life lesson that we're supposed to learn? I tried to tell her that we're allowed to choose to learn through happiness rather than suffering. It doesn't always happen, obviously, but why not? Can't we say to the universe, I'd really rather learn through happiness and joy? Could we give that a try? But it's not your Ishta Devata, it's not God who says you have to learn through suffering. It's some residual guilt inside of us, something we learned long ago somewhere else. What a devastating concept to hold in your consciousness. We can be grateful for all the life lessons that we learned in our life, but we can choose at least to say that we would like to be happy and learn through happiness and joy. So when we get a piece of information about our natal charts or what's coming into our lives in the future, we become creative, Aham Brahmasmi. The first step is to choose your highest goal. I call it the overarching goal, like a keyword goal, like love with a capital L, or wisdom, or unselfish service, compassion. Then we look at ourselves, at our karma, and reflect. Take time to reflect. How can I take the energy in these situations that we're describing today with astrology, or any situation, or astrological aspect, and how can we soften it? How can we neutralize it? How can we pull the energy out of it? Or how can we use that energy and make it more constructive? So these are really important things that we consider in Kriya Yoga when we're using astrology, when we're thinking about our aspects and what's coming up for the year ahead. So let's talk through some of these major conjunctions for 2020. The first one is Saturn conjunct Pluto. And we actually had that on January 12th, 2020. That already happened, but it's still very much relevant to this year because these type of major conjunctions create a resonance. It's like a gong going off. And we can feel the effects for a while after the actual exact conjunction. So this planetary alignment is in effect not only on January 12th and around January 12th, but it also is very strong, not exact, but strong between September 20th and October 12th. That's an estimate because this includes the Pluto and Saturn stationary points in Capricorn where they're very closely aligned at that point. So in 2019, I called the Saturn-Pluto conjunction a volcano aspect as I was describing it to people because the Saturn, if you think about a volcano that's in a mountain, there's a lot of times there's earth that sits on the top, a layer of earth holding that volcano in. And then there's Pluto, which is this urge to transform, to revolt against structure. Saturn's like the structure. Saturn is limitation. And so Saturn's holding that in. And so we were talking a lot about in 2019 about releasing the stress, releasing tension through all the good things that we know, whether it's hatha yoga or meditation or taking time out or taking a walk or screaming in your closet, whatever it is, to release the tension personally and away from other people so that it doesn't explode when you're with other people. And that seemed to work really well as a symbolic image. But I can see that for January 12th aspect of this year, that this is also, that the coronavirus is a real symbolic and actual representation of this aspect. Because right in the orb of influence of this aspect around January 12th, back in December, on December 31st, 2019, that's when the pneumonia came to the awareness of medical professionals in Wuhan, China. And you can see that the outcome, that we're still being influenced by this aspect because now we're limited physically in so many ways. We're limited. Some of us are in our houses. Some of us are under tremendous stress because we're working in a difficult environment. There's a lot of fearfulness. Pluto, Saturn's limitation, but Pluto's the fearfulness. Saturn's a bit of fearfulness too. And we don't know what's happening. And there's a lot of loss and transformation. Loss is Saturn, transformation is Pluto. And we're wondering if life will ever be the same again. So we need to release the pressure that we're feeling. We need to release it in harmonious ways, in practical ways, whether it's meditation, yoga, taking a walk outside. But I think also there's a very important thing that we can do that helps us with this feeling of pressure, loss, unasked for transformation, the things that are happening. And that is to send blessings to other people. This is where we are unlimited. And Kriyananda told us many times that one of the benefits of sending blessings to others is that we, in doing that, are at the epicenter. We're at the epicenter of sending the blessing. Therefore, we also receive a blessing when we send blessings to others. The divine love, divine health, divine blessing is unlimited. And so we can spend some time sending blessings out to others. You can use a mantra if you want. You can use prayer. You can use visualization. If you look at some of the recent past noon meditations, the Swamis are giving some very excellent ideas about how to use meditation and send blessings to others and to say prayers for others. And this will soften the aspect that is the Saturn-Pluto aspect. So now I'd like to talk about the Jupiter conjunct Pluto, the Jupiter-Pluto meetup, because this is going to occur it's going to occur 3 times exactly over the whole year, which is sometimes doesn't occur. I think Jupiter-Pluto is about every 13 years. So it's happened many times before, but it doesn't always have 3 exact conjunctions. And so you can see that the exact conjunctions are April 5th, June 30th, and November 12th, but there's some planetary station points in between that also bring those planets quite close intensely together. So this aspect is all year. And Jupiter is expansion, and Pluto is power. So the key words for Jupiter-Pluto is expansion of power. So there's going to be an urge in people for greater power and achievement in life, which is great. But sometimes Jupiter exaggerates things and Pluto blows things up. So sometimes there can be a lot of people trying to grab power. And Pluto represents the masses. So of the masses of people. So there can be the will of the masses of people, but sometimes Pluto is also totalitarianism and dictatorships. So there can be some of that. So taking it back to us as individuals, the challenge for us is knowing how to pursue our own goals in our own path without forcefully insisting that others follow you. So here's another way to look at it. The same aspect from a different type of symbolic perspective, which is with thinking about Jupiter mythologically as the ruler of the sky and the heavens, and thinking about Pluto as the god of the underworld back in the Greek and Roman mythologies. And the god of the heavens was also the god of lightning. So there's this image that comes to my mind of the lightning striking the earth and creating a crack in the earth that opens up and you see light shining from it. And this symbol has to do with the underworld being also our subconscious mind, our unconscious mind. So this aspect can also symbolize a lightning strike for us of insight and enlightenment as something comes up from our unconscious mind from the past to remind us or tell us or help us to think a new thought. And in the ancient times, Pluto wasn't only the ruler of the underworld, but also considered a god of wealth because of the gold and precious metals and precious stones that were found underground. And this is our unconscious mind. There's gold and precious gems in our unconscious that we haven't received yet. And this aspect may help us to receive that. So you have to, as we're in this time of social distancing and having maybe a little bit more quiet time, take more time for meditation, for reflection and contemplation, and figure out what are the treasures that we're going to find within ourselves. And the final conjunction is at the end of the year, December 21st, 2020, where we're going to have the Jupiter conjunct Saturn. So Jupiter is expansion, Saturn is limitation. So the Saturn-Jupiter aspects is about feast or famine. For some of us, it might be for both. We might have some things that are limited, some things that are expanded, and we have to decide if the glass is half full or half empty. This is what we'll be working with the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. Now, if Jupiter and Saturn can work together, a world can be built. We have the creation of Jupiter and the sustainment of Jupiter, especially along with Pluto coming, is being sort of part of this whole pattern for the year. Destruction, transformation, it's going to be cycle and cycle and things cycling around again. This is the cycle of life. Nothing stays the same forever. It's for you, you have to know what's important. Really, really important. Have your overarching goal. Have your dream, even if it seems an impossible dream. Attune to the divine. Call on your Ishta Devata. Call on Guru and lineage to help you reach your unconditional love, your supreme wisdom, your infinite compassion, and the ability to serve unselfishly. So let's talk about planetary meetups, and imagine, what I'd like you to do is imagine that you're actually in a meetup with these planets. You know what a meetup is. You get together with a bunch of people, just like on meetup.com, you get together and you're in this room where everybody's chatting and relaxing, and in your imagination, you see Saturn and Pluto together, and you go up to them and say, Namaste Ji, I'm honoring you. I honor the divine within you. And you say to Saturn, thank you, Saturn. Thank you for the foundation and structure in my life, and for the gift of time, because we are Kala Purusha. We are spirit moving through time. Thank you for this realm of time. And you say to Pluto, thank you, Pluto, for helping me to let go of everything that stands between me and my highest good, my highest goal. And you walk around for a while, and then you see Jupiter and Pluto hanging out together. And you go over to them and say, Namaste Ji. I will transform my life to reach my highest good, my highest goal, but I choose to do it in the most harmonious way, in the most helpful way. And finally, you see Jupiter and Saturn together, and you walk over to them and say, Namaste Ji. I choose to be disciplined and hardworking towards my highest goal, my highest good, but I'm still open and receptive to all the good and abundance and joy in the universe. Fellow seekers, study your own horoscope. Reflect on these transits, talk to your planets, find your Sangha, your spiritual fellowship, and gather with like-minded souls, whether in person or online, just like we're doing here today. Jai Guru Babaji, Om Tat Sat Om. Namaste.